You're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell, and it's my pleasure and honor to have Chris P. James with me today from the Burrito Brothers.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. It's my
Thank,
pleasure too.
thank you, Chris. And let me go back. Let's go through the history just a little bit. The original name of the band was called the Flying Burrito Brothers back in
That's right.
1969. And
Even
the
68. Even
68,
yeah.
and the first album came out in 69.
Yes.
February 6th, which is last Friday, was 57 years. It's been,
Yeah.
and that's one of the, I guess Rolling Stone made it is 192 best album of all time. How do you like that one?
That's cool. Yeah, it's highly regarded, even though it was a commercial failure at the time. It's
Yeah.
been a critical success and seen as a major uh, pivotal album in the history of I guess rock, popular music.
And
Yeah.
and people don't realize Gram Parsons was part of all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm well aware that lots of people do realize that
Yeah, he
because
was.
we sort of came up against some, sort of flack. It's been a long time now. I've been in the group now for 17 years, and when I first got in, some of the old, I call them curmudgeons, would say, "Well, you're not the real Burrito Brothers," and it's like,
Yeah, but guess what?
yeah,
The
who is?
real Burrito Brothers was only around. The original band was only around for one or two albums,
Exactly.
and then Graham left and did his own solo stuff, and then the
Right.
band broke up. Kind of. They weren't not all the
Sort
original,
of, yeah, yeah.
and
Well, they didn't break up when Graham left.
it was
Rick
after.
Roberts came in.
Right, but it wasn't the same original band after
No,
the next album.
right,
The
right.
only guy that I remember that was still there was Pete, Sneaky
For
Pete.
years, yeah,
For
yeah,
years. He was the heart and soul of that band for many, many, many years until he died.
right, yeah.
And but everybody else came and went. Chris Hillman
Oh,
came
yeah.
and went. I mean,
Oh, the personnel changes just happened constantly. There's no two albums in a row with the same personnel.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
It's a strange dynamic. They change personnel over and over and over. Uh, at first, it was kind of because guys left for greener pastures. Maybe that's sort of the nature
Yeah.
of a person leaving the band all along, but um, it it's a cool dynamic for me because the way I look at it is each time that it's reconstituted, that new lineup has something to live up to. They want to prove that
Yeah.
they're the right guys for the job, and they have a fire in them to go record some new strong music and
Well,
live up to the legacy.
I'm glad you said that because
Yeah,
that's great that the musicians think they have to meet that
yeah,
standard.
yeah, yeah.
And so anybody doesn't realize most not most, but some of the members of the Birds were part of that.
Yeah, well, that's essentially, you could make a case that the Flying Burrito Brothers, the original lineup, was a direct spin-off, an offshoot of the Birds,
Birds.
because Gram Parsons had just been in the Birds for Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Chris Hillman is an original Bird, and then after there's no drummer on the cover of the first album. They just used different guys. I think
Yep.
John Cornell a little more than anyone else, Eddie Ho, but they got Michael Clark pretty darn soon
Yep.
for their touring, for their live
Well,
performance,
David
and he is
Crosby
an original Bird.
sang on the first album one song too.
Who?
David Crosby.
David Crosby even sings on "Do Right Woman." Yeah, so they're definitely something of a Bird spin-off right there at the beginning.
Right. And then the musicians came in and came out, came in and came out over time,
Yeah,
and they were still recording music
yeah, yeah.
all those years with all the different musicians.
I
And
think the trigger for the ongoing, well, there's two of them really. There was Rick Roberts leading a group that went over to Europe, and they were still managed by Tickner and Dixon, and they recorded a live album in Amsterdam in '72, and that was the guys in Country Gazette who had been on Last of the Red Hot Burritos, but it was none of the previous Flying Burrito Brothers other than the new guy, Rick Roberts.
Right.
And Gram Parsons was asked about that by Chuck Cassell in an interview in 1972, what he thought of that going on. Not even any original guys that soon, 4 years after the band started. And we put that quote on our website because it's validation. It's so cool. He says, the ideal needs to go on whether I do it or anybody else does it. It's got to carry on. And yeah, I paraphrase, but that was his take on it. He was fine with Rick Roberts leading the group. And then Roberts kind of let it go to go on to a solo career, quickly followed by leading the group Firefall. But Gram Parsons died. And so A&M Records went digging into their vaults for outtakes and such and came out with the album Close Up the Honky Tonks in 1973, might have been almost 74, a double album of the never before released Flying Burrito Brothers stuff. And lo and behold, it sold better than any of their previous albums, probably due to the publicity surrounding Gram and that it was featuring Gram on a lot of the tracks. And so once again, that same management team, who was the Byrds management team before, perhaps still were, I don't think so at that time, but they contacted Sneaky Pete and Chris Etheridge because they knew Chris and Hillman and Gram Parsons weren't available for it. And Rick Roberts wasn't wanting to do it because he just got other stuff going on. And they reconstituted the Burrito Brothers shortly after that new interest in the band. And they came out with the album Flying Again, which had Joel Scott Hill and Gene Parsons, also from the Byrds, and Gib Gilboa, along with original members Chris Etheridge and Sneaky Pete. Once again, the Burrito Brothers are up and running. And really, every time that there's been a reconstitution of the group, it was somebody in that similar manner making an offer to some of the last guys who were in the group when it seemed to have kind of folded or slightly broken up. And it just always keeps going. I wasn't a guy who one day thought, gee, I could call some of these guys and we could call ourselves the Burrito Brothers. It didn't go like that and never has. It's always been somebody wants the Burrito Brothers not to be finished and offers a record deal or a tour. We got offered a record deal. Our terms back in 2009 were that we had to secure the trademark rights to the name, which was surprisingly readily available.
Which was the Burrito Brothers, right?
Yeah, the Burrito Brothers. We were in touch with Chris Hillman, who asked that well, first it was basically, this is yours if you want to do it. And he didn't. He said, it's never been a gold mine.
That was
more trouble than it's worth to him. It's so he passed and he said, I just ask that if you do it, don't be the Flying Burrito Brothers. That's the name I like to. He registered for the trademark of that, and it actually was different from ours. It was not a working, existing recording band.
You're kidding me. That name?
He owns the name for swag, for selling archival recordings, making T-shirts.
No one had that. No one had it back then.
I think John Beeland owned the Flying Burrito Brothers and let it expire.
Let it go. Yep.
Yeah. And no one had any of it. The Burrito Deluxe guys never owned that name. They just called themselves that. And that's a little interesting period right before I came in. For most of the first decade of this century, the aughts, the group was going, and it clearly was derivative of the Burrito Brothers. It was going as the Burrito Deluxe. And if you look up, and I remember it at the time, if you looked it up in Wikipedia or the history of the Flying Burrito Brothers, it's perceived as still the lineage of the same group. As we are now, the Burrito Brothers, there have been lots of times through the years that the Flying Burrito Brothers lessened the title to just the Burrito Brothers. And basically they did that real visibly when Gib Gilboa and John Beelan came to Nashville in the 80s and got a Curb record deal, and they called that group the Burrito Brothers. They never called it on the Curb albums the Flying Burrito Brothers. So if you look up the lineage, all of that is listed as just the same group going by slightly different variations on the name. And in fact, you can find that, like, I think I recently read a Rolling Stone review of their second album, and they call them the Burritos for short. They call them the Burrito Brothers for short. But the album they were reviewing was by the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Now, there was an East Coast version of the Flying Burrito Brothers with Barry Tashin, I saw too. I didn't know that.
That's the earliest version. The group was Barry Tashin, Ian Dunlop, John Cornell, just various guys, people like Delaney Bramlett and Junior Markham and Bobby Keys and Gram Parsons would sit in with these guys who were playing gigs around LA, just bar gigs, pretty loose. Ian Dunlop came up with the name the Flying Burrito Brothers, which is a silly name, you know. I mean, but if you go back to those days, late 67, the year 1968, groups like the Peanut Butter Conspiracy, the Chocolate Watch Band, I think it's not too far removed from that kind of thinking. It's just a crazy name. And Graham, in that same interview I referred to a moment ago, where he was okay with Rick Roberts leading the new version, said laughingly that he just stole the name. Ian Dunlop came up with it in the first place, and Ian didn't care. They weren't that serious. But then sometime soon after that, Barry Tashin and Ian Dunlop and perhaps Cornell, I'm not certain about that, were over on John Nuis from the International Submarine Band. They were over on the East Coast playing as the Flying Burrito Brothers because Ian came up with the name. He figured it was his name. And so there were two Flying Burrito, one on each coast.
Wow. And Graham went on and did a solo tour, solo records for a little while before he passed away. And I'll tell you, that's an interesting read, is what happened after he died and all the things that went on.
It's so bizarre. I think it's a little too, well, it's a matter of opinion, I guess. I shouldn't be too judgmental, but it sure strikes me as weird. It's like a strange thing to take somebody's body and drive it out to the desert and
try to cremate it.
Yeah, it's like, apparently at Clarence White's funeral, Graham said to the road manager, the road mangler, Phil Kaufman, that he didn't want this for him. If he died, he wants to be burned, his ashes out at Joshua Tree. Loved that
National Park. Yep.
But they did a real botched up job of it. They didn't really succeed, and the cops were not far behind, and it was only half burned, and they still sent the ugly charred remains
back to his family. I know.
So it's like, what? It's pretty weird.
Oh, yeah.
It seems weird to me to act like that's a real special thing.
But he was very well known during that period of time, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and I guess the upside of it is it got publicity. It kind of got attention, and you know, he was dead, so it's not like he knew the difference.
It was interesting that he was 26. He didn't meet the 27, the 27 club.
He seems like one of them. He's like a month shy or something. He's really close. And it is also amazing to think that a guy who did that much, who was that talented and that interesting, that artistic, was only 26. Wow. So he was almost a prodigy. I mean, he was really good when he was 18.
Yeah. Well, I was amazed when I saw he was 26. I'm going, wow. All the others that died around, you know, around that same time, we're all 27. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, all of them.
Jim Morrison. Brian Jones.
Right, all 27, and he was 26. He didn't
Yeah,
make it.
just barely shy of it. He seems to be in the same club
Yeah,
though.
yeah, he is. No, he is. Now I want to ask you about the music that the band made during that period of time. Today, I look at it as Americana. They were the first band to do Americana music. Before the band, before all the others, that first record is today would be looked at as Americana music. What do you think?
I suppose so. At the time, and I think the reason it flopped commercially was that it was such a new hybrid. It was
Right.
music. It was never labeled. The genre was never given that it was country. It was sold to the rock audience. It was sold to the hippies. They looked like it, except for the nudie suits, which are kind of fun and cool. Once again, just wild stuff. But
But it had
it
that California vibe. It
Yeah, it
was
had a California vibe. It had lyrics that lent themselves to hippies about, there's a Draft Dodger song. I don't know how much I owe my uncle, but I suspect it's more than I can pay. And uh, definitely, a thing of that culture in the day. Graham was just enamored by the Rolling Stones and good friends with Keith Richards. And so they were making this cross between country and I
rock.
suppose what you call rock, but it was a softer, folky country flavored rock, and threw in
Well, there you go, right there. It had all those different types of flavors of music as part of
right, and the signature instrument being pedal steel guitar, which is traditionally known as a
country.
country instrument. Although
Yep.
Sneaky Pete Kleino did not play like a country musician; he looked out of a different window. It was a very progressive uh, idea that he presented. So it was a hybrid, the likes of which nobody had heard before. And I'm not sure that helped them be easily digested at first.
Well, then you had, the other band, the California bands, the Birds and all those bands that were doing similar things, but not
Yeah.
exactly the same.
The Birds seem to have more handle on, how do you put it? It's a easier to access sound. Plus, they had the name recognition, and even when they got more and more country and away from their earlier sound, there were still elements. McGuinn's voice and the electric 12 string, they were probably easier for the general hippie public to digest than this whole new thing Graham and Chris were doing.
They were doing Birds, they were doing Dylan covers too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it was a thing. It quickly became a mainstream. I hate to use that term because it's sort of outside that, but it quickly became a real niche in popular rock with the whole country rock movement that included Grateful Dead doing it, Nitty Gritty Dirt, Poco, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Eagles. Eagles definitely in their first
Well,
few albums.
Bernie was a member of the band
Yeah,
for a while, right?
yeah. He was in the Flying Burrito Brothers for their second and third albums.
Yeah. Wow. And then let's talk about the other musicians through time. I mean, Garth Hudson was in the band for a while.
Yeah. I always thought that was a little bit outside, but it's cool because he's, I guess,
No, it
no
wasn't.
more outside than the
He
original idea.
wasn't really, because if you listen to the band, they were kind of like that in
Yeah,
some ways.
yeah. And I was going to say no more so than how, quote, outside putting Sneaky Pete in the first version of the band. So yeah, it's the willingness to sort of not play by any rules, just to be creative and different.
Well, he was the heart and soul all the way through. He was still around up until his death in
Yeah,
2007. He was
there
still
was
part,
a
huh?
there was a line of thinking that said as long as he was in it, then it was acceptable as the Burrito Brothers. But once he's gone, and I don't buy that because I think he was brought in as a support mechanism a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The focus of the group, the material, the singing, the songs weren't coming from
Well,
Sneaky Pete.
right, but he kept the name in the band alive
Yeah,
by being
yeah,
there.
yeah. And then, it's like from my point of view, I didn't get to be in the band when he was in it, and I don't want to be dismissed just because he's not in it.
Right.
So I don't have anything against him. I think he's brilliant. I think he's wonderful. In fact, he's the standard that we always
Well,
strive to
try to
uphold.
right. He was the in the original band, and over time, he's the guy that kept coming up and back and forth with the band. You'd see
Yeah.
him, and it's like he's the only original member still. Right near the end, there were no other original members, just him
Right. Yeah.
at that
Oh,
point.
for quite a while, for quite some time. Yeah. That when he was in, that was the only guy who qualified as an original member. The Gram Parsons, Chris Hillman, Chris Etheridge, and Sneaky Pete are the four guys on the cover of the
Yep.
first album,
Yep.
meaning that's the quote original members. And Hillman, Parsons, and Etheridge. Etheridge came back a couple times, guested on a couple things a little bit later. He was in that mid 70s version, as I already mentioned, but really the only guy to come back to the fold
On a
through the
regular
later
basis.
years of Sneaky Pete.
Right. On a regular basis.
Yeah. And he's listed, it's funny to look in Wikipedia, they got this graph down toward the bottom of the entry of how long, what number of years each member was in. It's a huge amount of members. And Sneaky Pete has the most years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's weird to me. I think I'm now third. I mean,
Longest.
I've been in it a long time. I've been in it 17 years. John Beeland has been in more years. Had been in more years than I have. But I think Sneaky and John are the only ones at this point who've been in more years than I have.
So Chris Hillman got the rights to the Flying Burrito Brothers name,
yes,
and retired that name. I take it.
Not necessarily. He's come out with some stuff. What's this? I think. How long ago was this? It's been a while now. I guess. Oh yeah, 2011. Wow. So it's been a while, but I think you can go to some kind of website and buy T-shirts with that early original logo and stuff like that. I don't think it's exactly retired.
So
it's
he's
still alive.
He's still got the right. He's got the rights to it still.
Yeah, it's still a live trademark owned by Chris Hillman. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it says Bar None Music.
So let's talk about Walter Egan.
Okay. Yeah.
Walter Egan, Magnet and Steel, the one hit wonder of Walter Egan that was on Top 40 radio for a long time.
Yeah. Which is not really fair to him. It's funny, the when I met him, I was thrilled as you might guess. I mean, as far back as 1968, I had Sweetheart of the Rodeo, even though I was a youngster, and followed them from the get-go. I wasn't one who didn't know about Gilded Palace of Sin. I got all their albums as they came out, and I'm from Wichita, Kansas, and I think that was sort of a pocket of love for the country rock hippie groups more than the European prog groups.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the Eagles when I was in high school and stuff. So the Gram Parsons connection, I knew that Walter wrote Hearts on Fire that Gram and Emmylou sang.
Yep.
That was a bigger deal to me than Magnet and Steel.
Yeah.
And then getting to know him, we hit it off real well.
Well, he was in the band before you joined, right?
Yes.
He was in the Burrito Brothers before you.
Burrito Deluxe version.
Burrito Deluxe, yep.
Yeah. And he was the first person we called. It was my brother, Fred, who's known as a producer, mostly of blues albums, of guys from Nashville artists from Nashville who had singles or albums in the 60s and 70s who he kind of resurrects their career. He doesn't do much of it anymore, but he did it in the 80s and 90s a lot. And he'd get an album and made by someone like Charles Walker or Johnny Jones, or the list goes on, and get it a record deal over in Europe. So he had gotten some degree of recognition, and there was this label that also did blues, but they did they wanted to start a new country rock or alternative. They were called SPV Records, and they contacted my brother Fred and said, who could we get, who's the most viable lineup to keep the Burrito Brothers still going? And he said, well, my brother Chris knows all those guys, played with them a lot. He's been on one of their albums, a couple of their albums. And so they kind of farmed it out to me from Fred, my brother. And I immediately thought, well, I sure hope Walter would do it. And I'd been in this group called Mr. Hyde with Rick Lano.
I was going to ask you about Mr. Hyde.
And Rick has quite a history with them. And he said he'd do it. So we went from there. And, then I had to secure the trademark. But Walter was the cornerstone of when I first got in.
He was your connection to the previous.
Yeah. And I had worked with him quite a bit. We hit it off back when I first met him, like in the early 90s, I think. It's been quite a while now. I got in his band. I played keyboards. He would let me sing one or two songs a set, and I was his principal harmony singer. So I was really a part of Walter Egan's band. He called the Walternative Band, and he wasn't crazy at all about that one-hit wonder idea, because he also had another hit called Hot Summer Nights.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. So there's at least 3 there, which is more than most people have. It's more than I can claim.
I didn't realize. I read that Lindsey Buckingham produced the record.
Yes,
his records.
They were really good friends, and I saw that firsthand. Learned that sometime not too long after I had been working with Walter, he got invited to Fleetwood Mac's concert when they came to Nashville. And we had passes. We went backstage, and they hug each other when they see each other, hang together and talk a whole lot. It was cool. They're good friends. They're friends.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was like blown away when I saw Lindsey was involved, and now you're telling me they're best buddies. That's great.
Yeah.
And he's periodically joined you with the band at times.
Yeah, he was in the band for that album I just kind of alluded to briefly. It was on SPV Records. That's my brother Fred. That's Rick Lano. There's Walter, and there's me.
Yep.
And we called it Sound as Ever, which Gram fans would know is the salutation Gram would put at the end of letters to friends and family a lot of time. It's like, well, see you next time. Sound as Ever, Gram. And that was Walter's idea to call it that. And so for about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years, that was the lineup of the band. But Walter went off to, he got another solo record deal and a chance to go on tour that just kind of made him a whole lot less available. And so we morphed again, but we were out of the starting gate by that time. And as important as it was for Walter to be in the band when I first came in, it was less necessary for us to have him in order to keep going. I mean, the band had already proven time and time again that it had changed personnel.
Yep.
So,
I mean, if you look at the Wikipedia site and all the musicians that have been in and out of the band, it's incredible.
Yeah, I remember one time Jody Maphis said, that if you talk to a musician, any kind of older seasoned musician in Nashville, he said, "You haven't ever been in the Burrito Brothers? Where have you been?" It's like,
Well, let's go to 2019, the 50th anniversary.
okay, yeah,
And I read that it was the first time ever that any of the band from all those years, you guys played the entire first album.
right. It had not been done. The guy who organized the show, Will James, no relation, actually, like so many showbiz people who use the last name James, that's not his real last name. And that always kind of struck me as funny because it is mine. I met Tommy James, and I said that to him. I said, "Hey, we got the same last name." He goes, "Well, didn't you know that's not my real last name?" But so this guy, Will, was announcing to me, "Will you guys do it? Because it's never been done by any of the lineups of the."
None of them. None of the lineups in
How
50
cool! What a
years.
nice thing to be asked to do, you know. And I think we're the right guys for it because we're the current ones of the group that never quit going that Graham started. So yeah, it feels
So
feels
what
like
was that
an
like to have?
honor.
What was that like to do that?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was as fine a night as I've ever enjoyed playing music. And I immediately thought that the best way to go about it would be to incorporate as many of the alumni people who would be interested, who would join us and take part, plus some of the newcomers. I'm starting to think that way very strongly now, all these years later, that I really want the next thing we do to have uh,
The
some
newer
new
group.
names involved, younger people, so that it might carry on after me. But maybe we'll get to that in a moment. That night, we had Larry Patton joined us, and Walter Egan joined us. Pamela DeBars was there, which was pretty cool. She was on the hippie boy crowd on the first album, and so she came up and hung with us while we went through that crazy piece
Wow.
of dialogue set to music. And and we just, after every 2 3 songs, we did another little shift. Ronnie Gilbo was up there with us. There was one very bittersweet thing about it, was that our dear friend and partner Bob Hatter, who'd been in the group for about 5 or 6 years by that point, and I just think he's as fine a guitar player as I've ever worked with. Beautiful guy. He's he's this guy right here.
Yep.
Uh, uh, he died a couple years ago, a few years ago. He was, well, I guess it's been a handful of years because he was starting to fade then. He was too sick to come out and join us that night. And he succumbed to cancer not long after that. And that was really sad. But we mentioned him and offered him tribute. And we did that one song, the Hot Burrito #1, which is the ballad of the two Hot Burritos, 1 and 2, that perhaps should have been called I'm Your Toy, which is what Elvis Costello called it when he cut it. A strange thing to call a beautiful, sincere ballad, Hot Burrito #1. But I told the audience when we did it that we wanted to attempt one song that was just the current group, which meant just the 3 other guys in this picture because Bob wasn't there. But it was a soft and gentle enough piece. I think it worked like a charm. It came off very pretty.
It's good.
So that was a beautiful night. Just
So
absolutely
how hard
memorable.
was it to get the name? You had to
Gosh,
secure.
nothing to it. It was available, and we had to show that we planned to use it, show proof of usage, which was what we were doing. We got a record deal that stipulated they wanted that, so we had to show that the guys in the band had connections to the family tree, so to speak, which was obvious, easy to do. Uh, that's how we were okay with the label. So yeah, it was surprisingly easy. I think now, see, this was 2009, and I think that might have been the end of an era, so to speak, that nowadays there's people jumping all over stuff like that and trying to sell it and make money.
Maximize. They're trying to
Yeah,
maximize it if they can.
yeah. I don't think it would be that. I don't think it would be available if somebody, even if we'd have never done it, somebody who had nothing to do with it would have locked into the idea and bought it and owned the trademark. But since I got it, it's not hard to, when the time comes to renew, they give you a notice and you just renew because you're the guy who has it.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what Hillman's been doing. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he's had to renew. I have no problem at all with Chris Hillman owning that name. I'm glad that he is okay. I think it's not like he seriously endorses somebody going by that name as much as he just realizes what the hell they've been doing it.
Do you know how? What does he think of what you're doing? Do you know?
He's never really come out and said it, but I've never gotten any disparaging words where he's troubled or disgusted or anything. I mean, I can't imagine he could be because we're good.
Well, he'd be happy that you're continuing to.
I'm not sure about that. I feel that Gram would.
Yeah.
Gram said that he likes the idea of going. When I think of his quote where he says, the idea will keep going whether I do it or anybody else, it's got to keep going. I'm now in a funny position, a weird position of
what's going to happen after, right?
I need to live by that credo, and I'm getting toward, I'm 70 now, and I need to think about hoping I can help line it into
another,
somebody else doing it, carrying it on, So that's my plan for the future. I think I've made what do we got here? We got about let's see. I've got that one I just showed, still going, Sound as Ever. Then the next album we made, it's a really good album. It's called Still Going Strong.
Yep.
And then there's actually a release of that night.
There is.
2019. It's just private. It's on our website and available to anybody who wants a copy to contact us, and I'll send it. And then the next album was called The Notorious Burrito Brothers.
I remember that one.
And that's a takeoff on the fact that the Burritos album, the Birds album, before Sweetheart of the Rodeo was called The Notorious Bird Brothers.
Right.
And that they were tossing around the idea of calling it The Notorious Burrito Brothers. It's part of the genesis of this weird Flying Burrito Brothers name. So I thought for years it'd be cool to call one of our albums The Notorious
Burrito Brothers.
And it's sort of true, was more so back then. What's this, the year 2020? That there were still naysayers who said, well, you're not the real Burrito Brothers. I guess there's sort of maybe always going to be that, but I haven't really heard it in a long time.
You can't be, though. The original Burrito Brothers.
Yeah, nobody has been since album number 3.
Right.
And yet it's been going ever since.
Yep.
And then we made a Christmas album.
Yeah.
And
The Magic Time Machine.
Then we made a one called Together, and our newest album is The Magic Time Machine of Love. And all of these other ones are pretty much the same nucleus group until this one, where I decided the reason it's called The Magic Time Machine of Love, there's Gram in one of those British time machines. And here's some people by a campfire with a flying burrito going overhead. And all through the years, there's my wife Sherry with Emmy Lou. There's Bob Hatter with Chris Hillman. It's Al Perkins. I went through my archives and decided to revisit some of the best. This way, we've got John Cornell and Ian Dunlop on a couple of the songs. and we've got Gram Parsons singing a couple songs,
How
doing
how did you do that? How?
like the Beatles did. He was on it was a solo, Graham playing acoustic guitar and singing, non-produced recording, home recording, and the technology is so available now. It's beautiful that we isolated his voice and then made sure we were in the key he sang in and playing at the tempo he was at, but had our group play a new pumped up track. And I think it worked like a charm. I think I copied our arrangement is based on the famous version by Quicksilver Messenger Service of Pride of Man. And it's magic the way Graham's voice did fit that. And then the other one he sings on is from the Gram Band album I did around the same time I joined. I think that's part of how I got in the Burritos, because I was clearly sort of the right guy. I was into Gram Parsons so much that I recorded a whole album of never released Gram Parsons material. And Al Perkins played on that. And I remembered that the song More and More by Merle Kilgore that we recorded for that album, that I have Graham singing in a hotel tape. We did that in the same key that Graham did it in. So we isolated his voice on his recording and just attached it to the same recording as the Gram Band album recording, which means it has Al Perkins in it, which is very special. So this Magic Time Machine of Love goes through the history of the Burritos in ways like I just outlined, but it's not an anthology of previously released recordings. It's a whole new album. It's stuff that I had that had never been released that was good enough to bring out. And we, using this marvelous technology of today, we're able to make some of the older recordings sound better. But it's sort of step one. The point I was roundabout getting to is the albums up till this one that I've been involved with kind of have the same core group. And I think since we've done that, even though we really did, I stand by all the work. I think each time we made another real good album. I love these albums and I'm proud to be in this group. But I think it's time to try and walk through another door to try to change things up from this core group. And so my intention for the next album, which might be sort of hinted at with this, is to try and include new people. It's actually similar to the concept of that night of the 50th anniversary. In fact, Noah Bellamy, who is a next generation, the Bellamy brothers.
Yeah.
He's son of one of those guys. And he and his brother lead a group they call the Bellamys. And Noah is a fabulous guitar player. And he's tuned into all this era, even though he's probably 20 years younger than me. He knows Clarence White and all that. And he played on that night. I want to make sure and ask him to guest on our next album.
Record. Wow.
And that kind of idea. Try to get some people who are not children, not babies, but a good bit younger than me, and perhaps they can wind up being the ones who carry the ball a few years from now.
Yeah, that's great that you're thinking about doing that.
Yeah. I don't want it to end with me.
No.
Don't worry about that. It could. I mean, if I just didn't try to do what I just outlined, I don't think it would have much chance. I just think it's a different world now. I don't exactly picture somebody who's 50 right now. Or no, say I quit. Say I finally retired. And it's just up to somebody out there to decide to take the ball or some label to, it doesn't look as much like it looked 20 years ago.
Well, think about when you came in, what you've done from that period till
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to give it, walk away from it until you
No,
can give it to somebody that can continue it, right?
that's right. There would be no satisfaction in thinking that it finished up with my
Well,
tenure.
you did it. Walter was there, and you
Yeah.
continue it right after Walter walked away and did what he had to do, and he was trusted you in continuing it.
I
So
think so.
I guess the next level is you need to find that person.
Yeah, and I am honored that I think there is that element. How do I say this? Because it's not
Consistent.
it's not a real big deal. They're not calling me to play the Super Bowl or anything. We don't have massive worldwide sales, but I still have a pride in the sense that I feel that I am the right guy for this job. I
Yeah.
get it. I've known about Gram Parsons and how to put together these kind of sessions, and I can tell that I'm getting a nice degree of respect from my peers. So it's a very nice thing. I don't complain at all about my lot in
I
life.
got a question. I got a question for you. How did you get those Gram Parsons recordings?
Well, they're collectors find these things, they're on bootlegs and things. There was an album that came out, I think I got it here, called The Other Side of This Life, that was recorded by Jim Carlton, a high school friend of Graham's in Florida back in 1966 and 67. And it came out, oh, this is old now. It came out on Sundazed Records in 2000. And that's nothing but Graham singing with acoustic guitar. Those aren't finished productions. And there's the hotel tape was some kind of, I think I saw it called Big Mouth Blue, something like that. There's just various ways you can find it. I remember Walter gave me some cassettes years and years ago of Graham playing live and stuff. I remember when we did the Graham band stuff, it was not all Gram Parsons originals of unreleased music, but all connected to Graham. They were done by that touring band, the Fallen Angels. Like he did "Don't Let Her Know," the Buck Owens song, and I loved. He got on the mic before singing it and announced it as, give it a chance. Everything those guys do, everything Buck Owens does, isn't necessarily corny. It can be pretty good. He's trying to sell the hippies on Buck, and my thought was, if you look at Graham's career, there's no Gram Parsons album except maybe Gilded Palace of Sin. Even it has two covers, has those two R&B covers, Dark Into the Street and Do Right Woman. He did songs that he wanted, like I just said about him doing Buck, that he wanted a wider crowd to get hip to. And so some of the Graham band was that. It was, to me, it was Gram Parsons material in that he did it and he presented it that way. So we did some cover tunes on that Graham album, but they were certainly all things that Graham did.
Wow.
That's available on the Burrito Brothers website too. That's the burritobrothers.net. It's a good site. We've got a really good couple pages on there called the timeline, and you can find out a lot of what we've been talking about. It gives an entry, and it's not too long-winded. Every entry is about 2 to 6 lines long.
And it explains the period of time, what was going on.
What happened, what album came out, and who was in the group that year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell, there's no missing years. The group always has been going.
Right. From 68 till today.
All the way till now. Yeah.
So it's burrito.net.
Yes.
is the
No, no,
website.
no.
Dot
TheBurritoBrothers.net.
net, theburritobrothers.net.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're on Facebook and all those other places, I
Yes.
take
Yeah.
it.
And our music is out there. We've gotten real record deals. It's not all. I mentioned that the live thing and our Gram band is from our website, but these other albums I showed you, those are all record deals. We're on a label out of Florida that's called TLAK, which stands for Think Like a Key. They've been good to us. They just put out this new album,
Yep.
and we were on the label that finally folded called SFM Music, a store for music, which is a British label. And we were on SPV, that first one that my brother Fred got us, and they were a European label. We're real into getting European labels because they seem to be more receptive to the history of the Burrito Brothers and less jaded as the U.S. audience now seems to
Well,
me.
the U.S. audience doesn't know it very much anymore because
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
on regular radio like it was back then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we had I hate to have to say it past tense. We had a manager, a beautiful guy named Bob Boiling, which I just love from the get go. His initials, B, Burrito Brothers, is Bob Boiling. He was quite a fan. Something like, not too long after I got in the group, it was like 15 years ago or so. And we connected on Facebook. And I said, "Would you be interested in managing the group?" And he's like he was a successful business guy with marketing skills. And he said, "Well, I've never actually done that." And I said, "Well, you don't. It doesn't matter. What the important thing is, if you love us as much as I feel like you do, and we've hit it off, um, we need somebody speaking on our behalf. When you go to a record label, it doesn't need to be me trying to say, 'Hey, will you sign us? We're great. You're going to love it.' That comes off odd, that even possibly egotistical or something. It's not an easy sell for me to try to sell myself, but for somebody else, and with that lovely British accent, to say, 'You got to hear these boys, they're fabulous, they can I send you their album?' That just gains uh, validity to have a person speaking on your behalf. And so that's how he became our manager, and stayed that way until he died last year. In last summer, he got cancer, and my gosh, he never even told me. We were getting the guy named Brian Adams, who ran the record label we were on for about a decade, called SPV Records, uh, was from that Beatles generation. He was around 80 years old by this time. And finally, he said, "I got to let it go. He's had enough." And so once again, we were hunting for a record deal, but we had wonderful Bob Boiling in our corner, and he'd done it twice before. And he did it again. And I now know in hindsight that he got us our current record deal while he knew he was.
Not well.
Yeah, and he never let on to me. He just wanted us to be. He wanted to do that for us before he left this mortal coil. Man, I can't say enough about what I think about Bob Boiling. What a beautiful
Well,
guy.
just think about what you just said about him. He didn't want to do it because he'd never done it before, and look what he's done for you.
And yes,
Huh?
yeah. So I'm very concerned about. Oh my, am I ever going to be able to find another guy like him? But we're set for now. He did that before he passed.
So how many record deals how many records can you do on this deal? Do you have
I don't know. I'm guessing it's a tricky thing because the Burrito Brothers have never really been that big a seller. It seems like we always have our supporters and the labels for us. And I even step up and pitch in. They've never had to pay for the recordings. I send them finished recordings that I get done, and so it it's not that hard to sell. And I'm kind of thinking these guys are probably going to at least hang in for the next one we do.
Yeah.
And if so, that's good. That's a good boost. It lends itself into that idea I had of bringing in some new blood too. So maybe some younger guys with new ideas can grab some of the reins and help us whatever we got to do down the road. And like I alluded to, I kind of don't see myself in it all that much longer. I'd like to think. I remember thinking when the 20s started that I would like to make a run for this whole decade. From there, we'll see. I'm not the kind of guy that just wants to quit. I love making music. I love recording.
Well, just think, another 3 years and 60's coming. You celebrated 50.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll be all set by 60 years to hand it off to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Wouldn't it?
And it has been sweet. I count my blessings. I've been lucky, I mean, I imagine when I first came to Nashville as a 20-something guy in music, the dream was like to make it to big stardom or something, and that didn't really happen. But boy, I've gotten a nice life of getting to always was in some band, getting a chance to record and continuing forward, and then 17 years ago, the offer to be in the Burrito Brothers, which I was like, I would have been 52, 53 or something. That's not a youngster kid anymore already. And so I recognized that to have a chance to be in a legacy group, an established group with that kind of reputation was a sweet thing. So I can't complain. I count my blessings.
And you've kept Gram's flame alive all these.
Oh, I think so. And I think we probably have done that more so than the previous versions of the group. I'm not sure how exactly that plays in. I catch myself sometimes. I don't want to ever disparage any prior version of the Burrito Brothers. I remember kind of slipping at that years ago, where I thought the late 80s version was trying too hard to get country music hit success, that it never really happened. And it's like, what should that have ever been a goal of the Burrito Brothers or the Flying Burrito Brothers? They weren't meant to be that. They're supposed to be a slightly progressive hybrid,
an amalgamation of all that.
Yeah. To try to get into the mainstream Nashville country.
Well,
but then to look back at it, it's like, do I know if I wouldn't have done the same thing if I was there in their shoes? And furthermore, that period was, who was it? There was somebody like Rodney Crowell, or I don't know if it was him, but it was somebody of note like that who called that era the Great Credibility Scare, because there were really good country groups having hits, groups like Foster and Lloyd and the Dirt Band and Vince Gill and Rodney Crowell and who am I leaving out? There were some really, really good.
And being in Nashville, you're right there.
And that hasn't happened for years now. It went back to kind of that same old cookie cutter product.
Well, the other plus is you're a big fan. You're a Gram fan. That was the other thing.
Big time. I love that guy. I love that guy's voice. It's weird. I always objected to the people who would say, and I even get it, they were almost trying not to be critical They would say something along the lines of, he wasn't that good a singer, his voice cracked, but he conveyed a message and his sincerity and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, what's your parameters for deciding a good singer? You know, it's like uh, his voice cracked in some sort of cool, charming way. And it came across beautifully. I think he's a great singer. You know, is there some sort of uh, idea that you're supposed to have I don't even know what you might call perfection in singing, an opera singer or something. No, he conveyed the song he was singing wonderfully. It just touched my heart every time I heard. I love that guy's voice.
Yeah.
That boy could sing.
Well, he knew the nuances of how to sing.
Yeah, yeah, and did it from the heart. It just
Yeah.
came from there. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you continue it, and hopefully you'll find some younger person to continue it.
Well, not person, but persons.
Persons, right?
Yeah.
Well, that have the same drive that you have for this
Some
music.
Gram persons.
Right. There you go. That's it. Gram Parsons. You're
That's
right.
what I need. Some Gram persons.
And you never know. You might find them.
Oh, I think they're out there. I've been keeping track of some. Yeah, there's. I don't think it would be appropriate right this moment, especially promoting this, to name some of the people I have in mind. Besides, I have to see if they're interested. I have a game plan, though. My plan is not to ask people to, quote, join the band. I'm just going to start recording our next album, get tracks going, and ask the people I have in mind to guest on something we've got going. You know, here's a track. Would you be interested in lending your voice to it? Would you be interested in
Well,
playing the solo?
think about it this way. You came in around the 40th anniversary, around
Yeah,
what? 09, 2009.
yeah,
You celebrated the 50th,
yeah.
and you got 60 coming in 2029.
That's a
So,
cool way of looking at it,
isn't
isn't
it?
it? Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
I went back. I did a lot of research on you and how long you've been with them, and I remember it was 2009, 2010, right around that time that you came
Right.
in, which is actually 40 years, which I didn't realize until I went back
I
and looked.
never thought of that before. That's interesting. Yeah,
You
yeah,
came in at 40 years, okay?
yeah.
You were here for the 50th, and you celebrated the 50th and Graham's all of his history in the 50.
Yes.
Now you're getting close to 60. And that could be the drop off
Kind
point
of
for you.
crazy to be. It occurred to me sometime not too long ago that we're pretty much the first one after. It's like until that point where I came in, it's somehow, and even when I came in, it's somehow still kind of tried real hard to maintain having somebody who'd been in the group, who connected far back to the group. This lineup, the ones you see here on this picture
Yeah.
here, none of us really can make any claim to having been in there when Graham or Chris Hillman or Chris Etheridge or Sneaky Pete,
Right.
we none of us came. These didn't all arrive at once as some new version of the group. Everybody came in one at a time as the last guy left, which is always how it's worked.
Yep.
But somehow it does turn out to be the first group after all those people are now, if they're not dead, they're 80 some years
Yep.
old. That's how
So
much time
so
has
you like
gone.
the way I just categorized all that.
Yeah, that's how much time has gone by. It's crazy. That reminds me of a cool thought that I like to share in an interview like this.
Go ahead.
There's never been an audition that I know of. I don't think there's ever been an audition to be a member of the Burrito Brothers. It's that somebody finally called it quits or left, or, well, I don't think anybody, well, yes, Bob just, I was going to say died, but for whatever reason, somebody's now gone. Well, the core group, the guys still around, always know who the right guy, there's somebody we've worked with, somebody we know who's just the right guy to be in there. And that dynamic has always been there. That's how every member of the Burrito Brothers, all 60 years, all 57 years, has ever gotten into the band. There's not an we need a guitar player, let's have auditions. That's never happened.
And that's why there's been so many musicians throughout the years.
Yeah.
I had to mention that, though. You came in at 40, exactly 40, 2000, around 2009.
Yeah.
You've been here for 50, and you're now continuing it, and you're going on to 60. So, I'm not going to say retire, but there's a perfect time you could, if you could find the right people to continue.
Oh, I think that's a good idea. Plus, it's a nice, it's a cool challenge. It's like I want to. The next album, I want to go after something different, a different dynamic.
And think you could do in the 60th anniversary, as maybe if you're going to move on from it, hand it off to somebody, and make it even
that's
a big
question. What to do on the 60th? Because I don't think I'd be that crazy about doing the Gilded Palace.
It's coming very quickly. It's coming very quickly.
This wonderful idea of being the first time the Burrito Brothers did the Gilded Palace of Sin in its entirety. Okay, now we've done that. To do that again, I don't know. I'd have to try to think of, so what would we do for the 60th?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we should have some sort of commemoration, but I don't think we need to trot that same idea out exactly.
No, but you could do a lot of different things. You could
make sure and have a commemoration. Yeah.
Or stuff from all periods. You could do something like that.
That's a better idea. Yeah, that's a strong idea.
Music.
Or we could do Abbey Road by the Beatles, because that came out in 1969.
There you go. So look at all the ideas I'm giving you for coming. It's only, you're surprised. You and I sit here. It's 2026. 2029 is not that far away.
No, it's not far away.
I mean, we're already. It's
very unlikely that we have maybe 2 more albums between now and then. I don't know.
It give you something.
Well, we could possibly get 1 a year, so that would be 3.
Just think about what you could do in the next 3 years, and then if you.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you do already. That's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chris, I'm going to let you get going. I want to thank you very much for a wonderful interview.
John, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it very much. I think we went over, didn't we? But I loved every minute of it.
That's all right. You answered a lot of my questions, and the history of the band and where the band is today. You explained that, and where you see it going in the next few years, possibly.
Yeah.
You might still be with us after 2029, after the 60th anniversary. Who knows?
I'd like to think that it's not a complete bye-bye whenever that happens.
Or support whoever you decide is going to continue it. Be part like the others in the past have.
Yeah.
Like Walter Egan.
Possibly the producer,
Yeah, producer. You could do that. Again, thank you so much. This is a fun interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I want to get some of the recordings I don't have from you too. We'll have to figure out how to do that.
Okay. You have my email.
Yeah, I'll
just contact me and I'll get them to you.
All right. Sounds good. I want that live album from the 50th.
Oh yeah.
That's only on the website.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that.
And
Yeah.
I have the new one, which is great. The new
Yeah, I
record.
really like that. I really liked it. We didn't talk that much about it. I hope people go check that out. I think Whiter Shade of Pale is just came out marvelous.
Yep.
That's like possibly my favorite song of all time. And we came up with a variation. We didn't just do the song. There's two alternate verses written by Keith Reid, the original lyricist, and at the original time. There were 4 verses, but they chose when they recorded the hit version to leave 2 of them out because it would have been so long. And so probably made the right choice because it was a monster hit, and it wouldn't have been if it was 10 minutes long. So,
No.
So we did the song with the alternate 2 verses and with pedal steel playing the signature, Bach influenced line and stuff. And it came out beautifully. I love that one.
They were a great band, boy. Procol Harum.
Oh my gosh, I love them. Oh wow, yeah. And Gary Brooker. Yeah, that's the trick about. I had told my wife before that I thought if I was pressed to decide my very favorite song of all time, it probably is Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. And so perhaps I want that played at my funeral kind of thing, and so then I got to thinking a year or so ago, shouldn't I have a recording of that if I love that song that much? But the thing that always stood in the way, the trick about that is, how are you ever going to stand up to that brilliant? I've heard any number of that song has been covered so many times, and nobody can touch the original.
No.
So we came up with this angle, or I came up with this angle, and I think it's justified. I think it's not trying to beat them at that, but it's a nice version of that song.
It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be in touch. I have your email. We'll see if you can send me a couple things that you have that I don't have.
Yeah, be happy to. Yeah.
And again, thank you very much. And again, it's the burritobrothers.net, not com, .net.
Yes.
And you can get everything there and video and all kinds of stuff on your website.
That's right. Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
Right. Thank you, John.
It's been a pleasure.
Same here. Very much so.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.